Hey up, guys! You're listening to Wrestling in the Dark, the one and only podcast by a blind wrestling fan. What? Oh, for God. Not again. It's Vince. He wants to know what I want to do about the Takeover Portland thing with Ciampa and Cole, and I have no idea. Vince, look, you're driving me crazy. I don't know what I want to do. Look, I'll go make a pros and cons list. I'll get back to you because I have no idea what I want to do. No, I don't want to boot Raw. Stop asking me about that. Yes, fine, I'll get back to you about Ciampa and Cole. Stop calling me until then. Fine. Bye. For God's sake. Takeover Portland is just round the corner, and the most prominent question on my mind is what should they do with the NXT Championship? It's been a great year with Adam Cole at the helm of NXT, having all those great matches with Gargano and all the War Games stuff, and he's just had a really good year, and I've loved having him as champion, and so has the crowd. But we're now at the point where Tommaso Ciampa's on the comeback. He's trying to regain the life that he lost to Adam Cole, and I just think that that's really great. They're telling an awesome story. He never lost it. He wants it back, and I just don't know where I should go with it. Where they should go with it, I should say. Where they should go with it, because it's just, there's so many great things that they could do with either men. They could go in either direction. So I've sat and I've tried to make a pros and cons list, and this is where I'm at. Let's look at the pros for Adam Cole. Now, I really like having him as the champion. I love the Undisputed Era as a faction. I just think that it's got legs for miles and miles and miles. So my number one thing to put in the basket for the argument for Cole winning would be that the Undisputed Era are so much more likely to stick together. I just don't want to see them go through a phase where they're arguing with each other, where people are asking, are they going to break up? Are they going to break up? Because I just don't want that to happen. Another thing that I thought of was the fact that we're not far away now from WrestleMania. Royal Rumble's just gone, so we're officially on the road, and it just means that if we don't have him lose the championship here, WrestleMania weekend can have a nice big moment, and that feels like a more important moment than maybe doing it at Portland, where maybe it might not get as many eyes as it would on a WrestleMania weekend, where everyone knows that WrestleMania's there, and you've got the Takeover Mania weekend where all big things happen, and they're going to have these big angles and try to sort of live up to or steal the weekend. And I just think that would be a big moment. The next thing was that it sort of robs Ciampa of his redemption story, and I mean this in a good way, because at the end of the day, it's not that much of a story, is it, if he just comes back and he's like, I'm going to regain that title, I'm going for it, and I've got it. Where is the story there? He hasn't had to particularly work his way back up through the rankings or anything like that, and I'm not sure that I'm at the point where I'm like, I need him to have that championship yet. Whereas given a couple of weeks of or months of build, I feel like they could maybe do it could allow for Ciampa to sort of question himself, like, do I deserve to have this back after the person that I've been over the last 2 years? It may even let us see even darker sides to Ciampa that we haven't seen yet, like the Psycho Killer Unleashed sort of thing, just over the next couple of weeks to months or whatever. He's just crazy and unhinged, and he's just trying to get that championship back at whatever it costs, and doing things that aren't necessarily facey because he's not a pure babyface. That's one of the things. Regal was another thing that I was thinking about, and I really like the dynamic between the Undisputed Era and William Regal, where they just never seem to get along. They're like the naughty high school children, and Regal's like the headmaster that just has to keep coming and telling them off. And it made me think about it after Cole just interrupted Regal on NXT this week, where it was like, okay, he's your boss, and not only is he your boss, he's like a legend of the business. You should be showing him some more respect. So I think I'd like to see Undisputed Era as this chaotic, rebellious faction over the next till Mania, and they could just be in sort of animal in trouble mode where Roderick Strong's just lost the NXT Championship. Fish and O'Reilly might be about to lose the tag team championships to Pete Riddle and Matt Dunn. To Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, and in that case, it could be a situation where it's like they're lashing out and desperately trying to get back what they had and make sure they don't lose what they do have, and I think that could make them even more dangerous, and having them sort of go head to head with Regal in terms of him making these opportunities that they feel are unfair, and Adam Cole sort of going along the lines of, yeah, you're persecuting me, you don't like me, you're making it difficult, etc, etc. Keeping him in NXT is another thing that I thought about, because we just live in this world now where he could just disappear any time. They could decide that they want to use him on Raw or on SmackDown. And yes, the old world of call-ups is sort of dead. They're not going to have him just disappear and never come back to NXT and never mention him again and be a completely different character. But at the same time, I just want to see him on NXT TV, and if they keep him there, I don't know where he goes after losing the championship. Like, who's he going to face? What's his story? And I feel like the most obvious story is him falling out with the Undisputed Era, which again is not something that I want to see yet. I still feel like they need just a little bit longer, but I get to that a bit later in the video because I've got more points about that. I just don't know where you'd go with Cole. I assume he'd have a rematch against Ciampa, maybe at the Mania weekend one, but at the same time, other than that, I just don't know where you go, and I feel like he's just going to disappear off into the main roster sort of universe, and I'm never going to see him again, and that just like scares me, because I've only just really come round in the last 2 years. I've just come round to the whole NXT thing and started investing in all these characters, and Adam Cole has, over the last year, just proper shot up in my favourite wrestlers sort of rankings, and the idea of him not being there or not being in charge of the Undisputed Era is like, oh. Let's look at the pros, for Tommaso Ciampa. It's going to be a massive moment for what is a standalone edition of TakeOver, and I do think that if they're going to do these standalone takeovers, that they really need to make these big moments, and Ciampa winning it is both going to be this big moment and also a really feel-good moment. It's babyface Ciampa solidified. He came back, he got the title back that he never lost, and the crowd's going to be so into it, and they're going to be really behind him defending it against everyone in the next couple of months. Everyone's going to be really behind that. The whole daddy's home thing is going to get even bigger than it is now. And I just think that those sort of moments for these standalone takeovers are really important. Unfortunately, the next one is the WrestleMania one, so it feels like that's going to call for big moments as well, but I feel like there's different things that you can do leading up to that WrestleMania weekend one. Another point is that it'll really allow for a reshuffling of the deck. There's so many different storyline possibilities that you could do. If Cole fails to get the championship back, why not have Roddy face Ciampa instead? You got Riddle, Dunn, Keith Lee, a returning Velveteen Dream would all be sort of really cool options to face him at WrestleMania. Gargano is another great reason for Ciampa to win, just because you can explore the story between DIY even further. Look, we've got to this point where they're back together now, they're friends, and everything's sort of just been forgotten, and I don't really want to live in a world where that Ciampa-Gargano rivalry is just on the WWE Network. It's just something that happened and it doesn't play into the ongoing storylines, and I think that Ciampa with the championship could just it could really open up the door to have Gargano maybe turn heel down the line. It's all good for the first few months, and then Gargano starts feeling like he's not getting the opportunities. He starts feeling like he's left behind. Tommaso Ciampa's got all the glory, and it starts getting pissed off that everyone's just forgotten. You know, I was Johnny Wrestling. He was the guy that had no music that came out and you booed him because you were so angry at what he'd done to me. And now you've just forgotten it. You chant Daddy's Home every time he's come out. And I think that it could be a really interesting dynamic because you could have Ciampa play it any number of ways depending on how you want him to be during the rivalry, because he could, he could fight back against Johnny and just be sort of nasty and the black heart of NXT like he used to be. Even if the crowd are behind him, he can still do like the heelish tactics. But he could also play that he sort of regrets everything. Like, he sort of forgives Johnny for what he's doing because he knows that he sort of deserves it. Like, this was always going to happen. You were never going to be able to forgive me forever. And I just think that coming back around and them two ending up having another massive series of takeover matches would just be really, really great. Honestly, what happens to Ciampa if he doesn't win? That's another part of the pros for me, because where does he go from there? It'll just end up being some dusty finish where the Undisputed Era come out and they screw him out of it and he just goes back after them. And granted, he could get some really, really good stuff out of that. You could definitely have him picking them off one by one and really, Ciampa could be the thing that comes the closest to splitting the Undisputed Era up over the next couple of months. He could just really, I think he could really, my mind's gone blank. I think you could just push for some really good storylines out of that, and I don't know where you go unless you do that, because who is there for him to go against? What would his story be? Would he just be sort of lost, like, I couldn't do it, I couldn't get Goldie back and now I'm just sort of cast adrift and I don't know what to do? Because that could make him a really dangerous man. He could be going against people like Balor, etc., and just trying to have these fights to earn his way back up again, and that could be a decent story. But I feel like you're more likely to just get like a dusty finish, Undisputed Era screw him out of it, and in the end at Mania weekend he just ends up winning it anyway, which would be a big moment. But I feel like if you have him win, he can either defend it for the first time at the WrestleMania weekend one, or maybe even if you wanted to have the NXT Championship on the WrestleMania card, the takeover at Mania weekend, that could have a number one contenders match, and that could easily be an Adam Cole versus Finn Balor type deal, Finn Balor versus Gargano, any of them. I definitely think Finn Balor will be the next challenger for the title, whoever takes it on though, in my opinion. Let's look at some of the cons for Cole winning. Now, I've got sort of two sides of the same problem here. If he wins, along with Fish and O'Reilly, we're back at that place that we were at before the prophecy was fulfilled, where Roddy is the worst member of Undisputed Era. And I really, really like that they've been equal. They've been on a really equal footing since he got the NXT North American Championship, and I don't want it to become a sort of Fish and O'Reilly and Cole versus Roddy sort of thing again, because I feel like he's already proved himself, and I do feel like the Undisputed Era are better when they're a cohesive unit. The other side of that problem is, if Fish and O'Reilly lose and he wins, then he's the only one that's got the gold left, and that's going to draw that's going to make for contention between all four of them. Is it going to end up being a situation where they go the separate ways? Is Roddy going to end up kicking Cole out? Is Cole going to turn on the other three? And again, I'm just not ready for the breakup of the Undisputed Era, so for me, that's a massive reason why I wouldn't have Cole win. Are you really going to have any better story than Ciampa, is my question too. Like, Ciampa's coming back, he's really trying to get Goldie back and take back the life that he lost. are you really going to get a better storyline than that? Other than them screwing him over and just continuing the program until WrestleMania weekend, are you really going to have anything better? Because if they were to have Cole win clean, which I doubt they would do, but if he won clean, who would you have him face going into WrestleMania weekend? Everyone's tied up at the minute. I have a feeling that Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne are going to be tied up in that tag team division for a while. They've become a really good charismatic team, and I think that they should stick with it for a little bit. Keith Lee's tied up with the North American Championship. Velveteen Dream isn't there, but him returning could be a decent one, especially considering that Undisputed was the one to wipe him out. He's been gone for so long. If he come back now, but I feel like, again, the Velveteen Dream coming to get his revenge needs a little bit longer than just between Portland and Mania. So I think it'd end up being Balor, but can you build a good story between Cole and Balor in such a short time? Looking at the Ciampa cons, one of the massive things is that I think it sort of makes Adam Cole look a bit weak. And one of the things that I love about Cole is that he doesn't look like a weak champion and hasn't done for a very long time. Yes, he used to be a little bit more chicken shitty than he is now, but in the last year, he's defended against Gargano, etc., and done a great job. And I just think that if Ciampa just decides he's coming for Goldie, he goes for it, beats Adam Cole first time around, it's just like, okay, so Cole wasn't that dangerous. Yeah, it makes Ciampa look good. I guess it's like the Brock Lesnar thing from the Rumble, isn't it? Everyone would be like, oh yeah, but Ciampa looks great now because he's the one to beat Cole when Cole beat all those people. But I just don't think that I'd want Ciampa to beat him in one match. I'm not sure. Again, it sort of makes Johnny look shit too, because look at that 3 stages hell match that they went through. Gargano gave Cole everything. They just went back and forth, and it was a brutal battle, and then Cole wins, and Gargano has never ended up winning it back from him. And I just feel like if Ciampa tries first time, then it just makes Gargano look a little bit pathetic, which could drive for story later on, when it's just like, when Gargano's coming for the title and Ciampa can just be like, you never could beat Adam Cole and I beat him first time around. So that could, I suppose you could get a story out of that. Are they really going to be able to build a better story than the Undisputed Era screwing Ciampa, though, and just Ciampa going crazy over the next couple of months and just being the psycho killer unleashed and just doing all this messed up stuff? This past week, attacking them with the lead pipes could just be a glimpse into what he could do to the Undisputed Era. So I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to come up with a better story for him leading into the WrestleMania weekend takeover than going after the Undisputed Era still. Having said that, if Ciampa wins as well, what happens to Finn Balor? Because if Ciampa wins, Balor can't just come and take it off him. Whereas if Balor is to beat Gargano at Takeover Portland, if we maybe see some sort of Ciampa involvement there in terms of Balor just beats the shit out of Gargano and then Ciampa comes and just, helps him back up the ramp or whatever, or stops Balor from doing something really bad that would, quote unquote, end Johnny's career, Finn couldn't get annoyed that he put his nose in his business, and he's like, right, well, if you're going to put your nose in mine, I'll put mine in yours. And that could lead to, again, if you wanted the NXT Championship on the WrestleMania card, you could easily have Finn Balor versus Ciampa at the WrestleMania weekend takeover for the number 1 contendership, and that could be great. If Balor pulls something underhanded there, again, it'd be great. Undisputed Era screws Ciampa. He's going crazy, trying to lay them all out, trying to get his own back on him. Meanwhile, he's got Balor coming at him, trying to avoid his attacks and playing both of them off at the same time. And I just think that that'd be a really great story. Because then, at the end, you could have Undisputed and Balor screw Ciampa. Balor wins that NXT Championship, either joins Undisputed Era, which would be cool, but I don't think they're going to do that, or he just has the championship there and Ciampa has to try and chase him, and they can have a long, protracted feud that takes us through to like Brooklyn or something like that. So I'm really, really stuck here for what I actually want to happen. I feel like there's just arguments for both of them. Really, I feel like we're looking at a situation where it should be. No, I was gonna put my foot down then and say I think it should be Ciampa, just because you've got the possibility of Undisputed still coming after him, Balor coming after him, and Gargano trying to get a look in. It could be over the next couple of months until Mania. Ciampa's just got everyone coming at him at all fronts, and I think that could be really, really cool, and him just sort of getting his first defence in. But I do at the same time, I think it might just be that I'm too much of an Adam Cole mark or an Undisputed Era mark, because I just don't. All of my problems really with Cole losing is like, what happens to him after that? What happens to the Undisputed Era? Where do they go with Cole? And I think if someone could give me a decent storyline of where Cole could go afterwards, because I really don't know. I think my top pick would be him going against Velveteen when he comes back, and them sort of vying maybe for a North American title shot, or maybe a shot back at Ciampa. I think that's the best one, just because Undisputed is like done so much to someone like Velveteen. He's been gone for a long while now. I'm just not ready for Undisputed Era to even look like they're breaking up. If they ever do, I want it to be from like an equally strong faction or collection of allies that just manages to crumble them because they're coming at them from all fronts. But yeah, I think that Ciampa, I'm leaning towards Ciampa, and I think that's just. I think it's because you've got this big moment for Takeover Portland. He can reclaim the life that he lost, the championship that he never lost, and you know, there's a lot he can do in terms of Undisputed Era coming after him, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm leaning towards Balor. Not Balor. He's not even in the. It's because I'm thinking about Ciampa versus Balor now, and how awesome it would be for Ciampa to have to sort of just look out for everyone, because Gargano's coming, Balor's coming, Undisputed's coming, Velveteen Dream returns, he's coming for it, and it'd just be it'd be interesting to see how the Psycho Killer slash Goldie's daddy would react to all of that. Well, that's that then. I can go and tell Vince that Ciampa should be the one to win. Let me know your pros and cons in the comments section, and if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you can have more wrestling in the dark. There's quite a few new people that have joined the fold, so welcome to you, and I hope that you stick around and have fun. Thanks guys, I'm off, and you should have a good one.